it's been an interesting week in the world of Jeffrey Epstein news. Last Friday, it came out that a former girlfriend and victim of Epstein, Jane Doe 200, confirmed that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent. Something everybody kind of assumes, but now more people are speaking out about it, specifically women that had direct ties to both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Then this information came out this week. According to newly released court transcripts, prosecutors heard testimony from the 2006 sex trafficking conviction of Jeffrey Epstein. So what it is it's a batch of sealed grand jury testimony and evidence that was released this week. And there's the article from, is that Daily Mail? Yeah, Daily Mail. I also know that there's an article up at VT.com, correct?
Correct.
About Jeffrey Epstein's ties to the Mossad and this, so you should probably go to VT.com.
Probably.
Daily Mail or... corporate media liars.
And Rob, and not to cut you off, you know I've been noticing a lot of, and I'm being, this is just an observation, a lot of Israeli, Mossad, Epstein, 9/11, the guy that's, a lot of, the dancing Israelis, there's a lot of bad shit that has happened here, and a lot of it is tying, I hear Mossad a lot, and I hear Israel a lot. I'm just throwing that out there, which is kind of weird. I know it's even, you're not supposed to point out obvious things, but I just want to make that point. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, yeah, and it's not the first time. So these documents, and I'll get to the phone calls. The phone records that were released in these documents are super interesting. I haven't gone through the other 100 pages, but just through the 50 pages of phone documents, there's some very interesting phone calls that were made to Jeffrey Epstein. This is going back to 2006. But let's fast forward to 2019 when Alexander Acosta was getting vetted for a cabinet position in the Trump administration, and they asked him about the sweetheart deal that Jeffrey Epstein was given in 2006 for these crimes. So in these crimes that happened in 2016, and they're bad. I mean, we always knew Jeffrey Epstein was into underage girls, but one of the girls was as young as 14. I've got a 14-year-old at home. Like, listen, at 14, I was probably a little bit different and mature than he is today because COVID set him back 2 years.
Yeah.
I can literally see it. Like, he has not matured. He's at the maturity level of a 7th grader when he should be at the maturity level of a 9th grader.
That's what they did.
That's what happens by being locked in, and the only people he was around was his stepmother, me, his mother, and his brother for 2 years.
Yeah.
Because we were, being cautious. We tried to flatten the curve and help out. So, like, there's all these, in these documents, it comes out Jeffrey Epstein is recruiting 14-year-old girls. He's getting high school girls to go and recruit other high school girls to come, and for $300 at a time, they're giving him nude back massages. Sometimes he is using sexual devices on some of the girls. He's requesting sex acts from the girls.
Probably recording them all.
Yeah, because
cameras are everywhere.
According to the maids that worked in his West Palm Beach apartment, the West Palm Beach estate, there were surveillance cameras. Maybe it was a New York one. One of the properties.
They're still everywhere, Rob. If he did it in one, trust me, he did it in the other one.
Yeah, you don't set up an entire surveillance system inside of one home and then not the other.
Yeah.
Especially the other one where you bring rich, famous people to bang underage chicks and then you use as blackmail to compromise them.
Weird.
So, an investigation starts into Jeffrey Epstein. A 14-year-old girl, maybe it was a 14 or 17-year-old girl, I'm not sure which.
Still underage.
Underage girl goes and tells her mother that she accepted money to do sex acts to this guy that lives in a mansion. The police launch a 13-month investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein ends up, instead of being charged federally, he is charged with state crimes for sex trafficking. He's given 18 months in prison, part of the sweetheart deal that Alexander Acosta gives him, 18-month sweetheart deal in which he only serves 15 months of the 18 months. And the sweetheart deal is that he can go home to work during the day. Now, what that work might include, you might ask? Lining up other underage girls to be viciously raped and molested.
Yeah, weird.
So they sign a plea deal with a pervert that allows him to go home and then arrange for other perverts to come rape these girls. And then he goes and tucks in at jail at night and goes to sleep.
Wow.
And then he wakes up and goes back to his home. That was the jail sentence that Jeffrey Epstein was given. So then I started digging into the phone records. We fast forward. Clearly, Alexander Acosta in 2019 says when questioned about the plea deal that he was given or that he gave Jeffrey Epstein, said the reason he gave it to him was because he was told Jeffrey Epstein belonged to intelligence, that it was above his pay grade, and to leave it alone.
So they might have actually been right that was a job that he was doing.
So that was a job. Dude, can you, guys? Can you hold on?
Behalf of who?
Can you wrap your brains around that? We were told this guy, what's his name?
Alexander Acosta.
Acosta was told, let this, you said pervert, let this convicted fucking pedophile out during the day to keep pedophiling and then let him go back. What? Dude, that means that the protection level of this guy is unheard of.
That's what I want to get to, buddy.
Yeah, go.
All right,
Holy
let's go
shit.
to the next thing, Kelly, if we could. So I started digging into these records. Here it is. This is released on the Palm Beach County website. These are some of the links to the evidence, and if you click the play button, Kelly, there's no audio because I just recorded this on my phone. Hopefully Pornhub doesn't show up.
Yep, that's going to happen,
And
pervert.
then you scroll to the phone logs. When we open up the phone records, these are phone records back from 2004, 5, and 6 made to Jeffrey Epstein. The specific phone records that we're going to look at, there it is, telephone message forms. So back in the day when you get a phone call and you had, I don't know, you were, arranging underage girls to get raped and molested by businessmen, you would have your secretary take your notes for the phone calls that you're missing because you want to get back to those perverts to arrange more raping. So here, a lot of these are blacked out. Interesting.
They're redacted.
A lot of phone calls from his attorney, who happened to be Alan Dershowitz, who helped negotiate the plea deal. But as you see, these are all listed in chronological order. So even though dates or actual phone records are blacked out, you can't see the dates, you can see that the ones that aren't dated, they're in chronological order. That brings us to the March investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. They launched a 13-month investigation, March of 2005, into Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein is not actually charged until July 25th of 2006, 13 months later. The news doesn't pick up on this until July 25th, 2 days before he's actually arrested. We can confirm that because in these documents, Kelly, if we could show it again, if you scroll down far enough, we probably went too far at this point, and that's fine. It's on me. But when you get to July 5th of 2006, the media starts calling. So it's an ABC News reporter, it's a New York Post reporter, it's a Channel 5.
And the secretary's noting,
she's writing
taking
down
notes.
each of these phone calls that are coming in. So clearly that's when the news breaks that Jeffrey Epstein, July 25th, he's arrested July 27th. So at least the investigation got leaked to the media on July 25th. However, let's go to this phone call right here. April 17th at 2:20 p.m. This is April 17th, 13 months after the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein begins. Chief Ritter of the Palm Beach Police Department makes a phone call to Jeffrey Epstein's house. Why is the chief of police of the police department that is still doing an ongoing investigation into Jeffrey Epstein calling Jeffrey Epstein's residence before this news has been leaked to the media? So Epstein should not be aware that the investigation is ongoing. They don't contact his attorney. They don't. If anybody was to call him, Kelly asked Steve, because Steve's a former police officer. Said, is this protocol? Or would, a deputy, or would a police officer, a detective, maybe they're arranging an interview. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
Maybe they're calling Jeffrey Epstein to arrange an interview because it's an ongoing investigation. Bring him in. Let's talk to him. Let's see what he has to say about these charges. It wouldn't be the chief of police making that phone call. It'd be a detective or an investigator. According to our friend Steve, who's a former police officer.
Warnicki.
13 years, right? 13 years.
He wrote a freaking book.
And working in the Denver Police Department, Steve?
Yeah.
Let's go to the next call. Okay, you chalk that one up to maybe they're investigating.
Okay.
This phone call comes in, and we don't know the day or time because the secretary's terrible and didn't note it at the top. Thanks
Dumb
a lot.
bitch.
But because these calls are placed in chronological order, we know this call comes after the April 17th phone call from Chief Michael Ritter, but before the July 25th phone calls from the press. This is from the captain of the police department. This is Captain Elmer Gudgen of the Palm Beach Police Department, PBPD. And read the memo at the bottom. He's calling a guy his police department's investigating with news that ABC New York and reporters are asking about the Epstein investigation.
Holy shit.
Why would the captain of the police department investigating a guy for pedophilia and sex trafficking call the person that his department is investigating and tell them that the news is calling them looking for comment?
Holy shit, Rob.
Yeah,
that is
tipping them off.
Tipping him off.
Yeah,
Rob, 1,000%. First of all, go ahead, Shane.
I just want to say real quick that it seemed like the first one, we don't have the time for the second one, but the first one's time was during work hours.
2:20 p.m.
So, this is on-duty police calling a suspect in a case.
He made a great point.
You
go everything. By the way, there's no reason for the chief. It's the DA's office. It's the prosecutors that would call a lawyer, and none of this goes to somebody's house that's being investigated, especially the fucking captain. What are you, nuts?
And Rob asked me about this yesterday, and I gave him an answer about like the role of the police chief. I actually went through and got like the job descriptions from their websites.
Okay.
And nowhere in the job description says like calling a suspect. You know,
Never.
Never.
What are you,
None of them.
crazy?
Like,
Calling one of the worst pedophiles the county,
I know.
at least the county has ever seen.
I got 4 of them and compare all of them, and nowhere near the job description. It's just like media communication and organizing
Zero.
department.
No,
Zero.
and so I wish that I had screen grabbed this and sent this to Kelly. I apologize for you watching it because I want to give you credible information. The relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and the police department in Palm Beach, and I don't remember where I saw this. It was definitely on Wikipedia, and it was in one of either the police officers' articles or Jeffrey Epstein. In it, it talks about Epstein's relationship with the Palm Beach Police Department. It goes back to when Jeffrey Epstein was involved in there was either a break-in or some type of crime committed at Jeffrey Epstein's home, and he had police come over to look at the surveillance equipment, and the police were like, wow, you have really high-tech surveillance equipment. He's like, oh, I can actually donate some of this to the police department. So Jeffrey Epstein had a relationship with the police before any of this even happened.
That's a
We're
bribe.
talking 2004. Now you fast forward to 2006, just weeks before he gets arrested, and the entire world knows this guy's a pedophile, or at least accused of it. And the police captain and the police chief are both calling him. Let's pull up this final note that I found. This is the final call, and I could not find. So if you're out there in the chat and you're watching and you're enjoying this, help me find Nina or Christina. This is the only thing that I can't solve this piece of the puzzle. And this is what's kept me up until 3 o'clock at night, trying to figure out who Nina is, because this phone call comes in after Captain Elmer Gredkin,
whatever.
Yes, his phone call comes in, and before the media starts calling on the 25th, this phone call comes in from another person within the Palm Beach Police Department. If we could show this phone message up, it's from Nina, PBPD, Palm Beach Police Department. Len Pepper, ABC News, Epstein. So again, this is, and it turns out that the secretary not only sucks at taking down times and dates, they also suck at names, because it's Len Tepper, the longtime ABC investigative journalist who was calling the Palm Beach Police Department again, trying to get information about this investigation, and then the Palm Beach Police Department, whoever Nina is or Christina that worked at the department at that time, then calls Epstein to inform him. So 2 separate phone calls regarding media contacts reaching out regarding the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein's pedophilia activities before anybody knew about it, possibly even Jeffrey Epstein, and the only way he knew about it is because the same police that were investigating him called him to tip him off.
Wow. So you know what, dudes, okay, so if you break that down, if you think about it, the level of security that he had, meaning he had carte blanche to do whatever he wants. Even if he got arrested, he got to go on, what is it called when you get to walk in and out of prison?
Like it was like work release.
It's like, yeah,
That's what they
it's called
call it.
pedophile release. No, you're being right, because guys, the only way that this makes sense is if he belonged to an intelligence agency, ours, Mossad, whoever, that he can have this type of crime, like he's not convicted. He's arrested for, and he's what's it called? Not alleged. He was arrested.
Arrested and convicted.
He's arrested and convicted pedophile. Then they let you walk out of the prison to go home with no surveillance, no ankle bracelet, no nothing. Dude, there's no other explanation unless you are being protected by somebody bigger and by an agency that's in cahoots with the United States, if not the United States, and saying, hey guys, we know, we get it. Don't touch him.
And think of how many women, young girls, because then he gets out. I mean, he serves 18 months. He's not rearrested until 2019. So you're talking about him getting out in 2008, 2009. 10 years.
Jeez.
This guy was allowed to go on and continue to victimize, rape, molest, and arrange other men to come and molest these poor underage girls. And it's because of, look at this.
Wow.
Look at the connections that this guy had just locally, and then you expand that to, I mean, the reason that Alexander Acosta stepped away from the potential cabinet position was because he didn't want to shine a spotlight on the Trump administration regarding this. He even said that. So he's like, even I can't defend my actions any further.
Well, because
it's wrong. I shouldn't have done it, and look what happened. I'm going to step aside so that somebody can step into this position, and this won't be the talk that the media talks about over and over and over.
But Rob, Acosta said that the reason was that he said definitively that he was a Mossad agent.
He was told he belongs to intelligence and to leave it alone. They didn't say Mossad, CIA, FBI, to intelligence.
To intelligence. So there's no explanation why an intelligence agency from the United States would let a known pedophile go home and And there's no fucking way.
Also, we have to remember that the official story is that he was a lone wolf.
Yeah,
just
right.
crazy, eccentric
Yeah.
rich guy who happened to be a pedophile, and that there was no blackmailing going on. That there was
shit.
this was not an operation, and it was certainly not an operation from an intelligence agency. And that's the thing, though. Several episodes ago, I did that segment on Epstein's book, his favorite book.
Yes.
And he told his another girlfriend, incidentally, he told her that if you want to know what I do for a living, read this book. The book is called The Man from Orgy, and it's about a guy who works for a shadowy intelligence agency in the United States government, tracking down people and using sex trafficking rings to do so.
Weird.
So this is him saying what he does to somebody else, and we're supposed to believe that he was able to get this sweetheart deal because he's just a random lone wolf pedophile and has no connection set. If a bigger agency found out that the Florida State Police were allowing this guy to come in and out of prison, everyone involved would be arrested, just like everyone gets arrested when they find out that people are getting bought off by the cartels.
Exactly.
None of these cops have ever been arrested. None of them have even had an investigation into them while this is all known to have gone on. So the only protection is agencies.
Is an agency, and think about the scope of it. This dude, like this is the more I hear about it, the more it solidifies. This guy was given immunity. He was given money, Rob, to invite all these powerful people from all walks of life. By the way, the Epstein flight logs, we know the people, some people that are powerful enough that they bypass all that shit. I've seen it happen. You can bypass being on a private jet. Trust me, your name, the logs, if you know the people. The fact that they were going there, recording these people doing this type of shit, and that they had to protect him because he's the gatekeeper. He's the guy. He has all the footage, and no matter how much you protect him, who's to say, Rob? That's why they whacked him, because they're like, listen, he might have shit that he's not even showing us.
Man,
Yeah.
if you really want to go down a rabbit hole, just wait until Mark Epstein's interview with Patrick Bet-David comes out next week, Monday or Tuesday. It's going to come out. It's fantastic. But he actually sent us, Vinny, and I'll show you these photos. He actually sent us photos of Epstein's autopsy that have never been released to the public. The photo that I am looking at that they tell us is Jeffrey Epstein doesn't look anything like him.
Yep.
And this is where the photo has the same case number, because on the photos what they do is they have inch marks. They have like a little ruler that you can see with the number of the case file. So it's the same number of the case file, but on one photo on the neck, and it's a small little cut right here, no beard whatsoever. Nothing. Clean shaven completely. You look at the photo that Mark Epstein sent us with the same case number, he has a full-blown beard, and the neck, the ligature mark on the neck is so deep. It wraps around the entire neck. My opinion, the photos that they've released of Jeffrey Epstein are not actually Jeffrey Epstein. Does that mean he's alive or dead?
Who knows?
But the photos that I saw, I'm telling you right now, I would put my life on the line, and I'm probably doing that by living in Palm Beach County and talking this way about the
demons.
police. Don't be surprised if I get a bunch of red light tickets at the minimum or a suspected DUI.
I'll bail you out.
Either way, I look at that photo and I go, that's not Epstein. And so that's why I was like, last night, I'm like, oh man, I'm going to the call logs, I'm going to this. And then finally my wife's like, you better go to bed. And I'm like, okay.
Oh my God.
Vinny, I was sitting right there. That interview is incredible. I was taking notes there. And, I keep notes of everything that Pat says while he's live. And there's a few things that didn't make sense. And I just thought of another one. You guys are going to have to watch the interview.
Okay.
The money side of things, Vinny. Like the amount of money people were willing to pay to get this guy out of any situation.
Oh, fuck.
Like we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars to get this guy out of everything.
And you know what? You know why? Because he's the one that had footage of them fucking underage kids.
Yeah, I don't care what anyone says. I don't buy that he was that good of a financier to be that rich.
No, he's not,
to the point where
bro.
he could have a 10-story apartment in Manhattan.
No.
Makes sense.
Plus an island, and no one knows how he got his money. No
And
one
also
knows his
be a
secrets.
lone wolf.
Yeah, and be a lone wolf. And then also, did they talk about Maxwell in the interview?
Yes.
Ghislaine?
Because we have to remember that her dad was literally a Mossad agent.
Robert Maxwell.
Like literally a Mossad. That's like confirmed fact.
It is so good. I can't wait for Tuesday.
I can't
Please
wait.
I'm
tune
excited
in.
to watch it.
It's gonna be it's gonna be huge.
But on your point of the lone wolf, I love when things of this size, they're like, oh, it's a lone wolf. Same with like the JFK assassination originally, like they were saying that as well. It's like, absolutely not. Why would people pay hundreds of millions of dollars to get a lone wolf out of certain situations? And I also thinking of the Mossad agents, and when they're speaking of that, that's why no country, no agency should be above reproach. All of them should be able to be criticized. All of them should be spoken about, because the minute they take your ability to criticize or speak negatively upon somebody, a country, an agency, everything's covered up.
I agree. Well, dude, Rob, thank you so much for doing the. Bro,
Thank you.
The shit that I don't. He could totally still be alive. Totally. I don't believe anything. We just talked about this before.
Yeah.
I don't believe any official story. I don't believe anything that they tell us to believe. Do your own research. And you guys, it's okay to have your own opinion and not believe the official narrative.